guys, it is Raj here. Today we are going to be doing a very awesome video. And that video is going to entail basically taking apart this iPhone XR right here and doing a housing as well as a display swap for it as well. So here I have with me so far the housing, the replacement housing right here, as well as the actual phone itself in question, and I even have a display reprogrammer as well, since we're also going to be replacing the display, which we will get to in the second part of the video. But for this part, we're going to be unboxing the display data reader. That way, we can prevent, getting stopped by Apple software locks, and then we're going to go from there. So without further ado, I'm going to grab my pocket knife. We're going to slice this bad boy open, and we're going to get started. And with this reprogrammer, this is essentially going to allow us to be able to reprogram that display. And all of this text is in Chinese, so I will probably have a hard time reading it, but I did also read on here that you can also translate this to English, so that certainly will not be an issue. And I clearly do not know how to cut things open. Let's see. See if we can get a nice side profile. They really did a number on that plastic wrapping. It's like solid. Really have to dig the knife in there. Yep, there we are. Finally created a gap. They really have it like Apple's plastic wrapping in a way. Alright, that is the plastic out of the way. And this essentially can not only do just display reprogramming, this can also do battery reprogramming as well, which is wonderful. Meaning I can also get the battery health back on batteries I replace as well. Because eventually I will be doing some battery swaps and more display swaps down the line, so that certainly will be useful. And wow, this box is definitely hard to open here. I have to shake it a couple of times. There it goes. Alright, we are greeted with some instructions here. So this does the vibrator, light sensors, the True Tone display, and it also does batteries as well, according to this, which is wonderful. This is kind of a guide on how to use it. That's the on and off, read and write buttons, and then that is the board swaps, it looks like. And then looks like it can do the LCD there, has the battery connections, and has that. Then this is all just a product description. Part of it's in Chinese as well. Alright, and then this is going to be the product itself. Board's kind of got tossed up about there because, the packaging is kind of so let's see, we can take off this little surround here. Then here we have the device itself, which it looks like also uses the same proprietary pentalib screws Apple uses, interestingly enough. Like, those are the exact same screws. Alright, and then I'm just going to go ahead and rebox all of that up, and then I'm going to power on the device as well. Supposedly this also has its own built-in battery, which is actually pretty useful. And I'm going to go ahead and set the box off to the side. I'm also going to set off the broken 10R as well to the side. Let's see if it has any power, first of all. Yep, looks like it does. And looks like it's all in Chinese. Let's see, double click. I'm going to switch it all to English. Okay, looks like that's the acting as the home button as well. Oh, here we go. Okay, figured it out. Now it's not all in Chinese. Okay, let's see. So the long press is the on and off. The click is to read. I have to double click enter to do that. And then double click this bottom button is to change the language. So this is basically the read button right here, which it looks like it presently has the display and touch board on there. So essentially how you swap out these boards is I would assume that you have to power off the device from what it looks like, and it also looks like it also takes lightning there as well for its port, which certainly would make the most sense. Let's see if I can get in focus. There we go. Yep, it's a lightning port. So let's see if we can remove this board here. I'm assuming it just slides out of place. Actually, no, it does not. There's a little tab here. It's connected via 2 points, actually. There we go. Just pops off nice and easy. So this board right here is responsible for the display and touch. This board right here does the batteries. And this one is a lightning board. This is for testing out data cables for a headset, and it's a detection for connecting a board. I'm not really sure what that means, but yep, we also have a lightning board as well on there, which is nice. But the board I'm going to want to use, at least for this repair, is the display and touch. So we're going to have to plop that back in, and then we can go ahead and reboot the device. And looks like it is all good, which is good. Alright, so we are going to begin this repair on this iPhone XR, which is completely busted up here, as you guys can see. We're going to begin by first removing the 2 P2 pentalobe screws at the bottom. And I'm also keeping track of all of these parts via a magnetic mat as well. Then I have the busted up 10R right here, so we're going to just go ahead and unscrew its 2 screws here at the bottom, if I can line it up. As you can see, you might not be able to tell from this angle, but there is a lot of dirt coming out of it too, so this phone is probably going to be very, very dirty on the inside. So that's screw number 1. Let's get screw number 2 out as well. Plus, we are going to need to brush, well, actually, technically, we don't even need to brush down the speaker grills because we are transferring all of these components to a brand new housing. So the speakers are also going to sound much better as well by the time we're done with this housing swap. And in case you guys are also wondering, I'm doing this without instructions. So I'm doing this completely freehand. All right, that is screw number 2. So what we are going to do now is we are going to heat up the display, and we are going to go about that. So for this part of the video, I'm going to cut out the audio so that you guys don't hear the obnoxious hairdryer, and I'm going to overlay some music over it. Alright guys, looks like we have a gap in here, which is wonderful. So now we can slide our pick around, just being careful not to damage anything. This is just basically going to be us cutting the adhesive all around the edge of the display. And we are in the phone. I can peel back that adhesive. And we are going to need something to prop open that screen, so we can just go ahead and use my driver set there. And that will keep the screen open for us. What we also need to do is actually repower off the device. So let's go ahead, shut it back down. Alright, now that we have the phone open, now we can go ahead and start disconnecting some of our vital components here. What we also need to do is make sure that all this adhesive also gets removed. So we're going to start disconnecting the screen. I'm going to go ahead and label that on my magnetic mat. And then I'm going to get my driver and we're going to start disassembling this guy. Alright, looks like we are looking at some Y000 bits right here. Yeah, looks like we have some Y000s situated right in this vicinity here where our screen connector is. I'm gonna just zoom in for you guys, just so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. Okay. And I'm gonna go ahead and find our Y000 bits. Just so I can get a little more light here, I'm also gonna go ahead and use this little light here. Yep, it looks like we have primarily all Y000s, at least for that initial board. We have Y000s and a mixture of Phillips as well. I'm going to go ahead and get both those bits. First, we're going to work on the Y000s. And before disconnecting the screen, it's important to note that disconnecting the screen first is not the right step. You always have to disconnect the battery first. So for now, we are just removing these panels. It's also important to note to be very gentle with all of this. Let's see. This bit might work a little bit better. It's a size smaller. There we are. That is our first screw off of there, and as you guys can see, it's almost microscopic, so definitely keep a magnetic mat to keep track of these. So that's screw number 1, and then right up here next to the Face ID components, you have to be very, very careful. Especially not to damage those, as those components are paired to the iPhone itself, and there is no way of getting around that, even with a reprogrammer. That would be an paired component there. Alright, so that is now unscrewed from what it seems. I'll just have to make sure that I didn't miss any. Actually, yep, looks like there is one screw back behind here, and that is a Phillips bit. So I'm going to go ahead and switch my bit here, and it looks like it's a standoff right here. And note that I'm being very careful not to damage the screen ribbon here, as that is kind of right there. So that's something that I'm being extremely careful of. Then either with a clean fingernail or some pliers, you can basically get the plate off like so. Let's see. And that right there is the protector plate for the screen. All right. All right, time to now disconnect the battery. Looks like we're also looking at some Y000s. But that definitely is the important step. Now that we have the connectors freed up, we definitely want to disconnect the battery first. And as I'm going along, I am basically right over here labeling everything on this magnetic mat that I have. Alright, same thing as the screen. We can go ahead and lift this plate off with either a clean fingernail or some pliers. Looks like we have one more protective plate nestled right underneath here. All right, making our way there. Looks like we have one more screw right here, tucked underneath the ribbon. And you guys want to make sure you're extremely careful whenever taking apart these plates really close to the ribbons, as one wrong move and you can accidentally destroy the ribbon cable, which definitely would not be good. But that is the battery's protective cover off. So what we can do is we can go ahead and pry up the battery connections and go from there. And basically we can start disconnecting cables now. And the battery cable, just for reference, it's going to be this one right here. It's that very small connector. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect that one from the board first. Like I said, you can do this with a clean fingernail or some pliers. I'm going to try my fingernail. There we go. Power is disconnected. I'm going to go ahead and unplug all of these ribbons, as we will need to regardless. And like I mentioned, be very careful not to tear any of these cables. Alright, that is the screen assembly away from the device. As you can see here, that is the entire display. So up here is the most important cables that we will need to salvage, as this entire assembly here will have to be transferred to the new display. Down here, we have just the touchscreen inputs. So these cables don't necessarily need to come over, but it is still good to have those there. So the screen is now off, which means we can now take a closer look at the actual phone itself. And upon inspection, it looks like it's in good shape, which is good to see. Not seeing any potential issues, which is really good. And it looks like all of the ribbon cables that we needed to disconnect for now are disconnected, which is perfect. So the next step in this is going to basically be getting that battery out, because we will need to transfer that battery along with all the other components to the new housing. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this bottom speaker assembly here where the Taptic engine is. That is where we're going to first do this, or where we're going to do the first sort of plan there. Let's see. I'm also going to go ahead and label the bits here as well. That way we have them situated on the board, and we are going to go ahead and see which bit we need for this guy. Looks like all of these are going to be standard Phillips, which makes things a whole lot easier. So we're going to go ahead, get our Phillips bit back into place, and we are going to go ahead and remove the Taptic engine next. Which, if you guys don't know what that is, that's essentially the vibration motor. I'm also going to go ahead and label that on my magnetic mat. That way we know exactly where all the screws go. Okay. So far, so good. What we'll also need to do, actually, is remove this cover on the actual connectors here. Right, yep, this can just peel right up. Sorry about that, you guys. Alright, we are going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and remove the Taptic engine. We have one more screw here, it looks like, which is also Phillips. Alright, the Taptic engine should be free to come out at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and take these pliers. That way we can lift it on out. And actually, before we do remove it, we do have to also unplug it from the board here as well. There is a small little connector, as you guys can see right below that protector, that we will need to unclip first before we actually remove it. Alright, that is now disconnected. So now the Taptic engine is free. And as you can see, that is the Taptic engine right there. So it's a nice little device. Alright, that is now on the magnetic mat. So what we can do now is we can go ahead and remove the speaker assembly. We're going to keep on chugging through this, you guys. Alright, I need to, here it is. I was just about to find my marker there. Because we are going to also label the speaker assembly as well. Alright, we're going to start in this top corner here, which that is also Phillips as well for the speaker assembly. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We have a couple more screws here as well to take care of. Right, we also have some right here next to the lightning port. Alright, second to last screw. Okay. We can go ahead and take out this lower bracket. Actually, wait, there's one more screw hidden right here in the corner. Now we can go ahead and unclip this. So this right here is the lower antenna assembly as well. Then we're going to go ahead and make sure that all of the screws are there. I'm going to just go ahead and line them all up here. That way we know exactly where these screws will go. And this screw right here is going to go on that side for the speaker. Alright, so now it looks like we are dealing with a couple more screws for the speaker. We have two what's called standoff bits. So a standoff is basically a screw inside a screw, which is always fun to deal with. Alright, now that I have the standoff bit, we're going to go ahead and get the speaker out of here as well. Looks like we have two standoff screws here. Sometimes these things can be a little stubborn and not like to work with the standoff bit that I have, but I will try to get them out. Yep, anytime it's stubborn like this, what I always like to do is just take a flathead as well. Usually flatheads also work in place of standoffs, because standoffs are the stubborn screws, as I like to call them. A little light actually also always helps actually as well. Yeah, those are definitely standoffs, so we'll need something that's a little bit larger. Or we can try the standoff bit one more time. Let's see. Yeah, with standoffs it does require a lot of pressure. Let's see. There we go. Just had to persuade it a bit. That standoff came right out. Alright, there is our second standoff. Alright, that should mean that our speaker assembly should be free. Let's just double check it here, see if we missed anything. Alright, let's go ahead and remove the speaker from the phone. Actually, looks like we did miss one thing here, and that is the upper Phillips here of the section of the thing here of the SIM card reader. We did have one little stubborn Phillips screw still left there, along with a little bracket here. Let's go ahead and remove that bracket. Alright, that is done, so now the speaker should be loose. looks like that was the only thing there that was keeping it down. So this should come right out, along with all the adhesive that it had for its waterproofing mesh. Yep, speaker assembly is now out. All right, now comes the fun part, removing the battery. After the battery is removed, we'll also have to remove the motherboard. So let's go ahead and update our labels here. Okay, let's go ahead, grab our pliers, or our tweezers, I should say, and let's go ahead and remove these, the battery stuff here with the pull tabs. That is something that's really nice, is that these adhesive pull tabs are here. That way we don't have to like nudge the battery out with isopropyl alcohol, but if need be, we can do that too, if say it just doesn't cooperate. So here we go, we have the first battery strip. We are going to pull it free. If for some reason, and that's actually another thing why we remove the whole speaker assembly, since we're disassembling the whole phone anyways, that would have been easier. But say if you're doing just a battery replacement on a 10R, you will have to remove that bottom speaker assembly first before you pull out the pull tabs. So a little bit more. All right, let's go ahead and remove this. And looks like the tab broke on me, which is not a big deal. I'll just have to fetch it out from there. Okay, that pull tab's gone, so that one didn't like me. So let's go ahead and try this other one. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to reinstall the same battery for now in the new housing. So we do need to make sure that this battery is intact by the time we're done with it. That's one other thing I suggest as well. Never have the lithium-ion battery charged a lot, because if you accidentally puncture it, that battery will turn into a bomb. So definitely make sure that you're being extremely careful when you're doing this. I need to just peel up this little tab here. Another helpful thing you guys can also do is with these needle nose pliers, you can also wrap it around the actual like tab here as well. That way it has a little bit more strength. That way it doesn't have a chance, or at least a higher chance of breaking on you. This does tend to work sometimes. Oh, that one broke too. Okay. So we probably will have to persuade it in that case, or nudge it out with a spudger to get it out of there. Which, that's another thing that always as a rule of thumb is never use a metal tool to get the battery out of there, since that has a higher chance of cutting it open, which is something you definitely do not want. Yeah, we're gonna need to go ahead and get our spudger here to get that out. So I'm basically right now using it as a wedge. That way we can at least get some of that sticky stuff out of there, some of that adhesive. Sometimes I'd say I have better luck with these upper ones. Looks like that broke too. That's not the end of the world. Alright, last tab. Oh, that one broke on me instantly. Okay. Seems like we might still have a chance with this one. There we go. Looks like it fully came out that time. So that's one free. Yep, rolling it around it like that is definitely a helpful method. Sometimes it ends like that, where it doesn't necessarily work out, but it's not the end of the world. Looks like I'll need the help of my handy dandy thing here in order to pry up that battery. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get some more tools here, so then that way we can get this battery out. That should help dissolve some of that adhesive. Yep. Alright, all of the old adhesive is out of the housing, at least as best as I could get it out, and off of the battery here as well. So the battery we can go ahead and set off to the side, as we will need it later, since we are putting it in this brand new housing. And we also have some battery adhesive as well to apply to it later. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside with it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and remove the motherboard. So I'm going to go ahead and make a note of that on my magnetic mat. Alright, and then let's go ahead and start that process. Looks like we have a standoff, or a couple of standoffs up here. A couple of Phillips screws where the camera is, a standoff, Phillips, as well as a couple of more Phillips there for the SIM card slot. So let's go ahead, get the standoff bit ready, and let's go ahead and take out all the standoffs that are up here towards the top. Alright, that is going to be standoff number 1. And here we have standoff number 2. let's see what else we've got. So that's both standoffs gone. Looks like there's a third one right across. Alright, then there is, looks like one more across from it all the way at the bottom. Alright, that's all the standoffs gone. Now we need to take out all of the Phillips screws. Alright, we're going to start off right up here with the camera bracket. Right here in the corner next to the flood illuminator. One little tiny Phillips screw is right there. Alright, let's see. Looks like we have one more standoff hiding beneath there. Alright, we need to go ahead and take this camera bracket off. We can also go ahead at this stage and disconnect the camera. And our camera plate should be free. I need to just get my little spudger here, that way we can go ahead and take this camera bracket off. Actually, there's a standoff there as well. Let's go ahead and remove that standoff bit. Oh, okay. So glad I did not sneeze on that phone. Okay, now our camera bracket should be free. There we go. The camera bracket is now out. And we can go ahead and also pull out the old camera as well. Well, I'm also actually at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect all of the ribbon cables up here as well, as we don't really need them to be in there. Alright, one more screw, and then we can also, I'm pretty sure, take out the motherboard as well. Yep, just two more ribbons down here that we need to remove, and then the motherboard should, after that, be free. Alright, motherboard is officially free. I'm going to set that guy off to the side. Let's at this point go ahead and see if we can remove the camera. Alright, camera is out. And it looks absolutely beautiful. Alright, last to come out is going to be the SIM card slot before we remove any other components that are kind of glued down. And this guy should just have one last Phillips screw securing it. Alright, let's go ahead and also take a SIM tool so we can remove it. And that's just going to be extra. Alright, there is the SIM card tray. Then And we also, to this new housing, we need to transfer this little pin. It's about that itty bitty little thing right there. That needs to come over to this guy. Right, that is in place there. Then this little SIM card is going to be just an extra. Okay, we almost have this housing all gutted. The next thing that's going to come out is going to be the Face ID module up here. So we are going to gently start lifting up these ribbon cables. And this step you have to take your time on, because if even one of these cables tears, you are absolutely done for. So you want to make sure you take your time on this step. All right. This right here is the front camera assembly as well as the Face ID module, so we will keep that right off to the side as well. Looks like that came out without a hitch, which is good to see. Alright, now the next thing that's going to come out is the lightning port assembly. We will need to keep track of the screw here for it. Looks like we do have another standoff. We actually have two standoffs. Okay. Those should be the last two screws, and then same thing with this step as well. The ribbons start right here, but you want to be careful when you're lifting them up, because like I even said, one wrong move and it's all over. So when peeling them up, be very, very gentle. It also might help to use a spudger as well when doing this step. Actually, another thing we can do is, while we're here, we can go ahead and unscrew the Phillips screws here at the bottom, which secure the lightning port in place. And that is screw number 1. And that's screw number 2. Alright, all of this should now be able to come up without issue. Alright, this is part of the speaker assembly. Alright, once I have this out, I'll be right back. Alright guys, we are going to continue where we were here with the repairs. So here we're just going to be reinstalling everything. So far, as I was kind of putting everything back together, I got pretty much all the small pieces back in. I just need to reassemble the phone, swap over the displays, and then that will be it. So I'm now going to cut to a time lapse of me doing all of that. Alright guys, the 10R is all finished, so we are now going to go ahead and close it up. Alright, it is all now closed. Now what we have to do is get the proper bit here, close up the bottom P2 pencil lobes, and then we are all finished. Alright, then we can go ahead and peel off the protector. And then we can go ahead and take the back stuff off as well. Where is the iPhone text and the Apple logo? Now all we have to do is just clean it up and then it will be all set. Turned out beautiful. Let's also just make sure that the SIM card slot ejects. Looks like it does. Perfect. Looks good. Volume buttons are working. Power works. Yep, looks like everything is working, which is wonderful to see. Let's go ahead and also test wired and wireless charging. Wireless works. Now let's test out our port. Port's working. And it's working both reverse and not reverse as well. Let's go ahead and turn it off of silent mode. Good, makes the charging sound. Also makes the charging sound there as well. Perfect. Yep, and then there's obviously no issues with the display, so display looks good. True tone is still here, which is wonderful to see because I use this nifty little reprogrammer, and we are all set. So if you guys enjoyed this little repair montage, please be sure to leave a like. Also, comment and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.